Hi boys and girls, welcome to Everyday Math Lesson 6.2, Comparison Number Stories. The materials that you'll need today, notebook paper, pencil, math journal, and your template. Let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is go over our math boxes from the previous lesson. So if you can open up your math journal to page 133. If you're noticing that you have any mistakes, please fix those with your pencil and eraser. So for question number 1, which is least likely to happen? Choose the best answer. And you should have picked chocolate milk will come out of the water fountain. For number 2, how long is this line segment? It is about 7 centimeters long. For question 3, Arlie harvested 12 bushels of corn and 19 bushels of tomatoes. How many bushels in all? So notice how I have 12 in one part, I have 19 in the other part, and I'm solving 12 plus 19, which equals 31. So I should have 31 bushels. For question number 4, how many dots in this 2 by 8 array? So you could have counted them individually, you could have counted them by twos, but you would see that their total would be 16. For question 5, put these numbers in order from least to greatest and circle the middle number, also known as the median. So the order, you should have had 99, 109, and 129. And 109 would be our median, that would be our middle number. For question 6, use your calculator, start at 92 and count by fives. So you would have had 102, 107, 112, 117, 122, 127, and 132. So if you can double check to make sure that you have this page correct before moving on to the next slide. For the next slide, I'm going to ask that you use your whiteboard and marker if available, or a notebook and pencil. If the speed is ever too fast, please pause as often as needed. So here's our first question today. It says Emma has 17 pencils, Lauren has 8 pencils. How many more pencils does Emma have than Lauren? Can you take a moment to think about solving that? And then we'll talk about some strategies. Press pause. All right, second graders. So a couple of strategies. So today we'll take a look at our quantity difference. So we know that, I'm going to erase some of my answers here. We know that Emma has 17 pencils, and we know that Lauren has 8 pencils. So we're trying to figure out the difference. So that's where I'm going to put my subtraction, or that's where I'll put my question mark. So to solve this, you should have subtracted 17 minus 8 to get a total of 9. Let's try another problem like this. And if you want to make 2 boxes and a line on your whiteboard to have your quantity difference, that might be helpful. So in this problem, it says the big fish is 14 inches long, the small fish is 8 inches long. And what is the difference in length between the fish? Can you press pause and then play when you're ready to check? All right, second graders, so I know that 14 inches long is my big quantity. That's the big fish. I know that my small fish is 8. So what I'm trying to figure out is the difference. So I put a question mark there. We could also put our answer there. But since I'm figuring out the difference, I'm subtracting. So I know that 14 minus 8 is equal to 6. So 6 would be the difference in length between the fish. We're going to use some of these ideas when we're working through our lesson today. So if you can put your notebook or your whiteboard to the side and now open up your math journal. We'll first talk about page 134. So these are comparison number stories where we're going to write the numbers you know in the comparison diagram. We'll put a question mark for the number you want to find. Lots of times it's going to be the difference, but sometimes it'll be one of the quantities that we're trying to find. Then we'll solve the problem and write a number model. So we could do number 1 together just so that you can see how to solve this. So if I look at number 1, Barb scored 27 points. So I'm going to put that in my top quantity. Now Cindy scored 10 points. I'm going to put that in my smaller quantity. What I'm trying to solve for is the difference. So my number model, I'm thinking 27 minus 10 equals, and you should have said 17. So Barb scored 17 more points than Cindy. So now what I'd like you to do is pause the video, solve questions 2 and 3, and then press play when you're ready to check. All right, second graders. Question 2, Frisky lives on the 16th floor. Fido lives on the 7th floor. So I'm going to put my top quantity 16 and I'm going to put my smaller quantity 7. So I need to figure out Frisky lives how many floors higher than Fido. So I know I'm subtracting. I have 16 minus 7, which equals 9. So he lives 9 floors higher. For the last one on this page, we have Ida is 36 years old. I'm going to put that in my top quantity. Bob is 20 years old. So I want to figure out Ida is how many years older than Bob. So I'm going to put my number model and I'm going to solve. So I have my 36 minus 20 and we know that that equals 16. So Ida is 16 years older than Bob. If you want to double check to make sure you have this page correct before moving on to the second page. So we're going to work a little bit more on some of these looking at page 135. So if you look at some of these are going to be where we're solving for the difference, but some of them are going to be where we're missing one of the quantities. So can you press pause and try this page and then press play when you're ready to check? All right, let's take a look at question 4. A jacket costs $75, pants cost $20. So I'm going to put my quantity 75 and I'll also put my quantity 20. Again, I'm trying to figure out the difference. So the pants cost how much less than the jacket? I'm solving 75 minus 20, which equals 55. So I should have $55 less. Now for the try this, I need to be a little bit more careful to figure out what I'm trying to solve. So Jack scored 13 points. Jack scored 6 more points than Eli. So I need to figure out how many points Eli scored. So if my first quantity, I know I have 13, but in my second quantity, that's where I'm putting my question mark because that's what I don't know yet. But I do know the difference. I know that he scored 6 more points. So my number model, I could have a couple different ways. I could have 7 plus 6 equals 13, or I could have 13 minus 6 equals 7. But either way, I know that Eli scored 7 points. Let's try another one like this. Billy is 16 years old. Paul is 6 years younger than Billy. So Paul is how many years old? And if you need to pause to fill in your information, do that as often as needed. So I know that Billy is 16 years old, but I'm missing this other quantity, so I'm putting a question mark there. But I know the difference. I know the difference is 6. So now for my number model, I could do that 2 different ways. I could either think 6 plus what gets me 16, and I know that 6 plus 10 equals 16. I could also think 16 minus 6 equals 10. But either way, I'm going to know that Paul is 10 years old. For our last question, Maurice is 56 inches tall. Nick is 70 inches tall. Maurice is how many inches shorter than Nick? So if I'm filling in my information, I'm going to put 70 as my top quantity because that's my larger number. And then I do have my 56 for my shorter quantity or my second quantity, so I'm figuring out the difference again. So I could solve and I could either think 56 plus how much more to get to 70, which I know it would be 14 more to get to 70, or I could think 70 minus 56 equals 14. But either way, Maurice is 14 inches shorter than Nick. All right, so if you can double check to make sure you have this page correct before moving on to our math boxes. Our math boxes are on page 136. I'll talk about the directions and then I'm going to ask that you complete this page on your own. When you're all done, take a picture and add that picture to Seesaw. We will go over this page in our next video. For question number 1, fill in the frames. So whenever you see one of these dark lines, you're going to add 2. Whenever you see a dotted line, you're going to subtract 5. For question 2, I changed the direction a little bit. Instead of drawing all the possible ways to show 30 cents, just show me 3 ways to show 30 cents using quarters, dimes, and nickels. For question 3, use less than, greater than, or equal to solve. Don't forget about your unit. For question 4, draw a line segment that is about 5 centimeters long, so you're going to need a ruler or a template for this question. For question 5, what time is it? And then for question 2, half. So think about what half of 2 is, what half of 4 is, and so on. All right, I will see you next time.